good afternoon, wherever you may be in the known world. Welcome to another episode of The Crown Between Two Roses. We have a special treat for everyone tonight where we're interviewing two wonderful people who are fairly new to the SCA. So before we kick into that, I'll hand over to my co-host, Beatrice.
Thank you. Please, we beg your patience as we acknowledge traditional owners of the lands on which we meet. Good nobles, we come here together in the spirit of fellowship, deepening of our skills, sharing of our knowledge, and a shared interest in the search to find truth through experimental archaeology and historical inquiry. It is in this context that I, Countess Beatrice, on behalf of my kingdom, acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands upon which we gather. We recognise their continuing connection to land and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and elders from other communities who may be here today. Thank you so much. And tonight we have, as Duchess England said, we've got two relative newcomers, Lord Balthasar and Yrsa. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did.
Yay!
Now try doing the surname or the byname.
No.
I can't do it.
No, not even going there.
Kaltenburg, it's really easy.
Yeah, all right, go ahead. Oh,
Go Balthasar, you're on. You pronounce.
Oh yeah, it's Kaltenburg. It's really easy.
Oh, your one, yeah. Balthasar von Kaltenburg. That one I can do. Yrsa, can you tell us what yours is?
It's Ucheldiroedd, which is a really bad bit of Welsh. I blame my son learning Welsh at the moment, so he came up with it. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe a name change. But I'm practicing. I'll probably be able to get it out fairly quickly. Yeah. I just need to meet some Welsh people. I asked his granddad, who is Welsh, and he went, oh, no.
We do have a couple of heralds around the place who are particularly good in Welsh and Celtic and some other kind of languages of that space. So I'll put you in touch. So if we'll start off with these interviews usually just finding out a bit about how you found the SCA and what made you join. So I think we'll start with Balthasar. So can you tell us how you found the SCA and how long ago was that?
I think I actually went to an SCA event when I was a kid, but it didn't really click that much then. Like I've always been interested in like archery and medieval stuff, and I think my parents took me off to a relatively small event that was ages ago. So it's always been a little bit in the background there. But then I went to university, and on the open day, found the local college, which is was really a sort of blast, and I immediately joined up with the College of St. Crispin, which is our local branch. And after going to about 3 events, local gathering sort of things, I sort of realized that either I could keep going to the medieval club stuff and that could become my whole thing, or I could go and get my degrees. So I kind of immediately ghosted the whole situation, went and got the degrees, and then as soon as I was done, I was just like straight back in, joined up with Mourne Vale itself, which is the local branch, and it's just been a blast ever since. So I really should have just kept going with the college, but I knew I wouldn't have had the self-control. So a pretty classic story of essentially just found the club, the college at the open day, and kind of went from there.
So how long has it been since you came back?
I've been now in the SCA for, time's been passing a little bit weird due to the shutdowns and things, but I think like a bit over 2 years now. It'll be a bit over 2 years, about 2019 I think I joined. So it's still relatively fresh, but I feel like I've been here my whole life in a certain sense.
I am curious. You said that you came along when you were younger. Was there a reason that it didn't really take for you?
I think that was like so far in my youth that it was like it didn't even register as like an SCA event or anything like that. It was just like, oh, let's go out and have a fun day. And we didn't think of it as a recurring thing at the time. Because yeah, I was so young that I was, off with my parents, and I had other hobbies at the time and things like that. So we did end up doing archery through like a modern archery club and things like that. So that might have also conflicted a little bit, just in terms of, well, he's already doing a thing that's a bit like that, and we sort of just didn't look too hard at the time. But yeah, that was ages ago. It's in the, like, I can't even remember the event other than I think there was one. It's like that far back kind of thing. So
Yeah. No.
How about you, Yrsa?
Yeah.
I basically followed my son. It was we went to, friends invited us down for the fair in St. Ives, and I actually refused to dress up because my background in theatre, I was backstage. I'm not a dress up sort of girl, and I've had to suck that up. And we went to Ironfest twice, and Will really wanted to. Gosh, it's 2 years. So he was just turned 14, and he wanted to find a LARPing group in the Southern Highlands. And I looked around and I couldn't find anything. And then I found a brochure for the rapier classes at Exeter. I went, well, this sounds like us. Off we go. Yes, hitting people with sticks. Woohoo! So we actually came in just to do some sword fighting and joined Ucheldiroedd. And then we have switched from the light rapier into Penny. England is now our long-suffering, heavy trainer. Yeah, long-suffering. Look at that face.
Not at all.
And so we joined probably about 3 or 4 months before the first festival that we went to. And I have to say that one of the moments that scared the crap out of me was that I didn't know the joke 2 weeks of festival. So I had festival, great, 5 days of camping. I have to do it in garb. I have a background in theatre production, so I had a timetable and I had it all set out. It was great. And we went to a meeting and they went 2 weeks to a festival. I went, what? Jesus. And they went, oh no, it's a joke. I went, oh, okay. But yeah, that was our first real big event was going to Rowaney, which we absolutely loved, and have been trying to get back to since, and going to fight training and hall days, and yeah, that's us.
So what year was that? That was your first event?
It was late. We didn't go to the Dragon Feast because I couldn't. So it was late 2018. So it was 2019 we went to festival, and then it was cancelled in 2020. Did not take it in a grown-up way. Sort of hauled everything into the guest room and sulked for a month. Yeah, so we've been planning to go back. And it's a joke in our family because we've got a friend, one of Will's mates, who wants to come with us. And I've said, look, it's been cancelled twice. You have to promise me, even if you're 27, you're coming to the first one that we have.
Fair enough. Maybe we can get everyone authorized by then, and so they can all fight. That'd be very exciting.
Yes. Will fought in the... he's probably too old to do the BOF tourney now. It'd be too terrifying for...
He's certainly too tall for it. So Yrsa's son is like reaching theatre at kind of height. Like he's a big boy.
Probably about an inch. He's almost as tall as Cedric now.
Yeah.
He did a double take on Monday. He was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
So he's going to be that heavy fighter.
That's his plan.
Excellent.
Get the focus. He certainly looks the part, but
Well, it's always a good thing to have that multidisciplinary combat style. So, going from rapier to heavy as well. I know that there is a lot of crossover with some of the techniques. I've been advised, if you do rapier, it really improves your point work when you're doing heavy, particularly for thrusts and if you're using pole weapons. Yeah.
I'm not sure how I will go.
We'll work on it.
It's always fun. I love it.
Yeah, I do love
I did mean to mention before we kicked off the interview, but as you've probably realized already, the SCA is full of jargon. So if we ask you any questions or refer to anything that you don't understand, just go, and we'll explain it, because it's like there are still things that come up, and I've been playing for, oh gosh, a very long time, and there's still things that come up and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. What does that mean?
They were talking about getting a new reeve for Oakaway, and I don't know, the historical thing for reeve, I thought, well, okay, drawing things, writing, and when they explained it to me, oh no. Business? No.
Easy one. Reeve is easy.
Nah, not for me. I have form phobia. I just, seriously, I'm so bad at filling out forms. I'm just, terrible.
I love filling out forms, but numbers are not my strength.
No, neither for me.
Maybe constable for form filling rather than the numbers. So I was going to ask this question later on, but I'll chuck it in now. What are some of the jargon words that you've heard so far in your time in the SCA that just totally stumped you when you first heard them? I mean, we've got reeve, but anything else that's just kind of, what is that?
Well, one of the local ones that tripped me up for a while was grogs. Around Newcastle Warden Vale. I still don't know entirely how you get to be a part of the club, but it's like essentially some old fighter group of people who had this, I guess, particular style of armor and stuff, and were around at the same time and that sort of stuff. So there's constant references to like grog helms that are basically just buckets and things like this. So yeah, it's for a while I was just like, who are these people? It's like, should I be joining them, or it's like, is this part of the fighter culture here? But now I just love hearing stories about the old guys and all the shenanigans that they got up to, which apparently was all of them. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Quite a lot, yeah.
I don't think there's anyone new coming in. It's definitely even before my time was kind of big then, and it was, yeah, absolutely, everyone was involved in it, and it was just kind of just a fun little group and thing to be part of. But I don't think it's still going in any way. Just everyone refers back to the olden days.
Yeah.
A lot of stories.
The group of fighters and everyone had their own unique name. So every grog had some reason for that name.
Right.
It could have been a feat of strength or a feat of stupidity.
Pretty much. How about you, Yrsa? Other than reeve, are there any funny words that?
It was just a different use of the word. I guess no, the reeve in Chaucer is an accountant, so yeah, I should have known. Yeah, not really. I mean, there's ones that have cracked me up. Like, I love pointy hats. I think that's just great.
Yeah.
I think one of the language barriers that we do have is when we refer to events. So I know for Modern Vale, you talk about Spring War, we talk about Tocal.
Yeah.
For Oakwaite and Politicopolis, it's fog. If you go to Riverhaven, it's St. Florian's, it's GNW. And there's all of these acronyms or contractions of the name of the events.
Oh, yes, that one got me. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fog, festival, Valentine's. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Butney Cross is another one in St Florian's. Western Raids. Yeah, there's all of these different things, and it's a massive learning curve. So I've been playing for quite a long time, and I'm still learning a lot as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even just the sort of barony and club locations can be a big deal, because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, we're going down to Rowaney for the next fighter training or something, and I'm like, that's not a real place. Where do I go? Is that close or far? Is this a weekender or? But you know, after the first time you hear each of them, you're like, okay, that's now I get a grip on it, and it's not too bad after that. But it is a little bit of a learning curve there.
There's learning names that like I'm really bad at remembering people's real names. So the first time I went to an Oakwood Hall Day, I did the whole trick where I repeated the name to myself. Yeah, got it. Riz. And then they went, what, you have other names? Oh,
yeah. Now Facebook has totally like thrown that in the water as well, because people may not have their SCA name, or they might have their mundane name, or they might just have some other random nickname they have. And so with COVID over the last year and a half, you spend so much time interacting with people through Facebook, you're like, I don't know what name's real anymore. What do I call you?
whole conversation with someone and I'm like, no, I got nothing. Oh, Georgia. Okay, cool. Nothing to talk about now.
And then you have nicknames or use names as well. So it definitely throws a whole thing in the works. Like, I'm usually called B. That's how most people know me. Beatrice is very formal to me. So it's when people do say Beatrice, they're like, Beatrice, B, who, what? Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I usually just get my mundane name, except for when like I'm in court or like when I've been reigning and stuff, and I'm like, who's angry? Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Your Majesty will do. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yrsa mentioned Reeves just before, and Balthasar, you took up the office of Reeve. And now that I've realised just how long you've been in the SCA, you must have taken that up pretty quickly once you came back. So what was it that drew you to do that, like straight off the bat, and volunteer for that kind of role?
The office was open and it had been advertised for a decent length of time, to the point that people were getting like, hey, we actually do need a Reeve. And my background in mundane life is a PhD in mathematics. So I thought, well, for a first time jump in, it's just some bookkeeping. How hard can it be, right? So for me, it's sort of the easy introductory office role, and it sort of needed to be filled, and I just sort of stepped up to the plate, and it seemed like a good way to sort of give back to all the kindness that everyone had shown me. As soon as I sort of rejoined, there was just piles and piles of sort of kit thrown at me, and the food at all these events and stuff, and I was like, where do I pay or something? Like this seems so bizarre. And so it's just like a relatively straightforward way to get a bit more involved and to give back a little bit. It's all been relatively straightforward, and it's just a pretty straightforward role for me. So that was most of it.
Have you found it daunting at all? Because I know that is something that a lot of newcomers and older members actually struggle with, is how time intensive some offices can be.
For Reeve, I found it not too bad. Again, partly that might be because of my background. I fell into it pretty easily, so I didn't need too much training. It was just a matter of, okay, where are these buttons in the Zero system instead of ones I've used before? And it's also been very easy in the sense that we kind of shut down before we had another major event. Like, I haven't actually done the books for a spring war or anything like that, because yeah, we got cut off kind of just as I took up the role, essentially. I have done a couple of events, but they haven't been sort of major ones to do. So yeah, it hasn't really been a problem for me. And especially with Reeve, it's not particularly time critical in a certain sense. So you'll sort of get the pile of work, and if you've got, you know, a couple of minutes to put some of them through, then that's fine, and you can sort of come back to it bit and bit, rather than some of the other roles where it's like, if you're not on the ball getting things set up for the event as the seneschal, then the event doesn't happen and everything can go astray that way. So being a sort of post-processing role, it's also got that sort of advantage where, yeah, you've got a bit of leeway. So yeah, I haven't found it to be too bad.
So what I'm hearing is it doesn't matter how long you've been playing, you can still go into an office role and it'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah. It's certainly there's some office roles that probably are not for the straight beginners. Especially like, you know, Baron and Baroness is probably a bit too big if you're 6 months back in. But yeah, I think actually there's quite a few of the roles that are actually really good for beginners. Like if you're a relatively charismatic person, the herald position is like a great way to get involved in everything a little bit, and you just have to sort of be loud at specific times, and usually people will sort of poke you to do it at the appropriate time. So depending on the role, I think there's definitely an outlet like that.
Yeah, I don't think you even need to be loud to have the herald role. You just need to know who is loud, and then get them to do all the yelling. Yeah.
Yrsa, I know you have a different pathway than that. So you haven't held any offices, but you are quite the artist, I hear.
Yeah, that's my thing. I've got a background. I spent most of my adult life as a theatre designer before moving to the Highlands. And currently it's not an official role, but I've just taken over Okowait's Facebook page to get them back through the algorithms in the old Facebook. So yeah, and I'm helping Leonora, Elisa do our first whole day back after the plague. So that's happening in July 11th. That's been fun. So yeah, doing that.
You also produced a beautiful banner for Okawait.
It was it's unfinished and it needs alteration. It was the design was that needs work. So yeah, the Facebook page, and I have actually stuck my hand up to become the ANS officer, but that's still in the process. God knows how that'll go.
Amazing.
Well, I'm just going to jump in and share my screen. So I'm in a very privileged position where I get to hang out with Yrsa, pre-pandemic every week, and now we just got back into it. And she drew for me a beautiful gift of some art that she did for us. So can you guys see this?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is something that she put together just from a few photos of regalia and stuff. This was before we stepped up as the Crown as well. Yeah, so like, I don't know, I just wanted to show that off because I think it's really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. And like, you've got my shield heraldry on there, and the Lockhart crowns are like perfect. Yeah.
I'm really glad you did share that, Anglin, because I know that that's your profile picture on Facebook. Yeah. And I have been admiring it, and I've been lucky enough to see the real thing as well. So it's such detailed and gorgeous work. And I'm always jealous of somebody who is artistic, and I love promoting artists and stuff that I can't do that other people are amazing at.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of my most treasured possessions. I love it.
Yeah, it does look like Theodoric. I'm really glad about that.
Yeah. I think you captured us all very well.
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
All right. Back to our beautiful faces.
So
go ahead.
you're right. Balthasar, you mentioned that you do archery. What other interests do you have?
Yeah. The ones that are particularly relevant to the SCA are kind of all of them. I've tried to dabble as much as I can in sort of everything that has come up. So I've done a little bit of sort of the heavy fighting, and I'm about 60-70% of the way through actually restoring an armor set of my own and things like that. That got very much delayed by the whole shutdown, but anyway, I'll get back to it eventually. But I've also really enjoyed putting together a couple of brews, which is the kind of the local specialty here in Malden Vale as well. I have had an overflowing of plums from the garden, and so I was like, what am I going to do with these plums? I don't know, I'll ask the SCA, and someone will make, jam or something. And of course, being the SCA, everyone jumped up and was like, oh yeah, there's so many things we can do with them. We can make this, we can make that. And the one that I went with was one of the locals, Bjorn, who set me up to make a plum wine out of it. So we went around to the brew shop and got the appropriate yeasts and stuff and did all of the prepping of the plums and things. So I've got this delightful plum wine. Well, it's okay. I'm not going to call it delightful on stream. It's kind of oversells it. It did work as a wine, which I was stunned that sort of it worked out so well for a first attempt. And I've since tried a watermelon one that did not work at all and is now fertilizing the garden. So yeah, I've had a go at the brewing, and just recently we've had a sort of an ANS series locally where I learned how to make chainmail, and so I've while watching TV and having spare time and stuff, been putting together a chunk of chainmail, which is currently at a decent sized square. So yeah, it's been great. Just constantly trying new things and getting a little bit of everything, and tried a bit of blacksmithing as well. So again, it's one of those things. I think I've been part of this club my whole life. Like, I've just been waiting for the opportunity to go ahead and do some of these things. And so yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome. It's and outlining the diversity of things that you can do here. It's definitely one of the high points that I find.
Yeah, it's awesome, and everyone's got their little niches of knowledge and things like that. So it can just be so fun to go up to even people doing the sort of crafts and things that you're not so keen on, and just listening to them nerd out about all this awesome old stuff and the techniques they're using and the tools that they're finding, and yeah, it's just an awesome place to be around.
Absolutely.
So I got a question. When we know that the SCA is full of awesome activities, we've got the fighting, we've got all the arts and sciences, but something that really quite sets us apart as a hobby group is how court and royalty and B&Bs work. So I'd love to hear your first impressions when you went to an event or a local gathering or something about how that works and the role play of that, and did you think it was super weird or really cool? So so we'll start with you. What was your
well, from a theatre background, I was actually impressed by how well you all pulled it off. Like, I didn't when I was at Roweny, I spent a lot of time in the camp, so at night time, so I didn't actually go to any of the court at festival. So the first court I went to was at Fields of Gold, and it was a knighting ceremony, and it was so moving. Like it was just like when he took that hit, I was like, holy crap. But it was really quite powerful and really quite beautiful. I guess I'm used to being in a theatrical mode, so it doesn't sort of bother me that much. Like it doesn't strike me as strange. And I know that when you inhabit, like, I mean, going back to the Crazy King, I've always is, you know, a lot of people, not in the SCA, but a lot of people take the piss out of LARP, and the video they use is somebody throwing down sandbags going, you know, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. But I know, having not done a LARP like that, but having done some stuff that was a reenactment or a thing, in the moment, it might look really dumb when you see it on film, but in the moment, it's astounding and quite powerful. And, you know, like I used to joke with when we'd watch the videos of us doing the fighting, when you're actually doing it, you feel awesome. Like you feel like freaking Darth Vader. But then you watch it and you look like you're just in a cat fight. But, you know, at the time, I felt like a goddess. And then I saw footage of myself and went, ooh.
Like being on the receiving end of that, like, scrimmage, I'm afraid. Like, there's some power coming out of you. Like, I can see that, you feel it. How about you, Balthasar? What was your perspective when you first saw them, the role play side of things?
I've done a decent amount of like D&D and things like that before. So tap dancing as well. I've done for most of my life. So theatre is not really like a mystery to me, and it was really cool to see that. I think when you were asking, like, was it strange or awesome? I was like, I think it actually is both. Like there was certainly an element of like, okay, this is definitely getting a bit weird, like everyone's maybe taking a bit too seriously, but at the same time, all the events I've been to have been pretty relaxed about the way court is held. And so, yeah, like there was an element where I was a little bit daunted the first time of like, okay, when do we sit and stand? Like, I guess I'll just follow everyone else and sort of, you know, should I be scared of the king and queen? Is this, which of course not, yeah. But being in them, just the level of sort of reverence and respect was actually really awesome to see. And in a way, even though it was that sort of little bit daunting, the whole thing also was all incredibly welcoming sort of the whole time. It had that vibe underneath everything as well, that everyone is, you know, getting their place in the sun and being welcomed to the group really well. Like all of the awards of arms and things like that, those little ceremonies of just like, yeah, we noticed you've been coming along and we're really glad to have you. And here's a bit of a scene for you in front of everyone as we sort of introduce you more formally. And it's a little bit strange, sure, and but yeah, very welcoming and very awesome. And certainly the SCA would be a much lamer place without it. So I think it's definitely worth having that moment of court and role play, and having that opportunity to actually get into that fantasy side of like, yeah, we have this structure and these systems, and let's give it a bit of a go of maybe what some of these sort of court and social situations might have been like. So yeah, it's really awesome.
Did you have somebody, this is for both of you, did you have somebody explaining what the awards were as they were being handed out when you were watching your first lots of court?
Not really at all. I just had to sort of listen along to whatever they were saying as they were being given out and sort of guessing. Like some of them come with that, the sort of the various orders and things they'll say, sort of this is awarded based on people's artistic capacity and things like that. But But for kind of the awards of arms and things, I was until I got one and got to read what it says, I was like, oh, this is mystery. What are they doing up there? I mean, I'm sure I could have asked someone. It wouldn't have been a big deal, but yeah, it didn't really come up.
Yeah, I remember. I think it must have been the first event that I went to that had court in it, and I'm pretty sure it was a Newcomers feast. And we had Sean the Bastard there explaining to me what the whole court situation was, and then everyone at the front just kept turning around and shh, shh. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Someone's just helping. If anyone knows Sean the Bastard, he's not a subtle man. Like.
How about you, Yrsa?
No, I pretty much knew what was going on. It didn't really matter, actually, because it was just so awesome to watch. That first one, there was an award of, see, here we go up with terms. One where they get the amazing cape with all the badges sewn on it.
The pelican.
Yes, it was that. That was one. And there was also the award of the banners, which I got one but missed because I was on the phone to my dog minder. My stupid greyhound had escaped. So I kind of missed that. I have to say, I really am very, very sad that we didn't get to do a festival with you and Frederick as King and Queen, our forever King and Queen.
Look, there may be another opportunity. We'll see.
Well, maybe.
No more plague.
England as Queen by right of arms.
Long way to go, but I'll try.
Behind that in a big way. Yeah, take her off the throne through us.
Pretty cool. I'd like that.
Yeah.
Laura and Rihanna and I standing guard, your most pathetic students.
Oh no!
Willie.
Look, what you don't yet have in skill, you absolutely make up for in passion and enthusiasm. So,
not the best swordsman in the world, but the most.
Soon.
So one of the common themes that we have across the SCA is about personas and people who have their favorite periods of time. What are yours?
If I was going to be really honest, it's not Viking.
No!
It has become so after doing research. I have to say the thing that's attracted me to it is the position of women in the Viking Age. I do kind of like that women had a certain amount of power and autonomy because the men buggered off all the time. So someone had to be back looking after the farm. And the men, as Gwyl said, had a habit of dying. So the women also had to be back looking after the farm. I do love that. And I'm starting to get really into it. And the travel as well. We have a very convoluted backstory because we have to work in Gwyl's Jewish friend. And yes, we picked him up on the Silk Road. And ended up in Wales because it's nice and we like it there. And it's not under Danelaw. Gwyl says it's because I'm on the run and I can't be under Danelaw.
I love it. I love that you've like worked up a story between you and Gwyl and Gwyl's friend. Like that's really cool.
Yes, he's Fishka, who is my son by adoption. We picked up on the Silk Road as a Jewish slave, and we brought him with us. And Gwylym is the son of I birthed him, but he is half Welsh, but we don't talk about it.
How about you, Balthasar?
So for contrast, I'm much more into the really more late period, all of the high medieval period with the knights and all that sort of stuff. And I picked Germany kind of on a whim because you have to pick somewhere, and partly because one of the other key motivators that got me back into the club was I was on a really work holiday in Munich in Bavaria, and it was a pretty rough time, and I was having not great time, and I saw a poster with a knight on it, and I can't speak German, so it was just like there's something that has a knight on it, and the date was one day before I left, and I was like, fine, whatever, we'll go do it, and it was the absolute highlight of the trip. And I've actually been drinking out of a Memorial Stein from the Kaltenburg Ritterturnier. So Kaltenburg is this tiny little town out in Bavaria somewhere that still has a castle. I'm not sure it was actually a medieval period one, but they put a sort of jousting tournament on there every the end of every I think autumn or thereabouts, early September. So when I went to that, I was just like, yeah, I've got to go back to that medieval club and get into it. And based on sort of that experience, more than anything, I picked kind of late period German, and that's sort of where the persona has sat for as much as I've really put into it, which is currently not a lot. It's kind of the next thing I should do in the SCA is really pin down like a coat of arms and things like that, and return my sort of award of arms and actually get it all registered. I did put in the effort, and I
do that. Like,
There's no rush.
yeah, but
I don't have
no rush for
I
sure.
don't have
But
my heraldry registered.
yeah,
I only came up with it last year. It's not something you have to do. If you want to do it, then that's good.
yeah. So yeah, and I picked the name Balthasar kind of on some family history. When I was being born, my mum said, listen, let's give him a good standard biblical name. I'm tired of having to spell out my name every time I get a phone call. And my dad, being the jokester, was like, oh, biblical name? You mean like Balthasar? And so I was about this close to actually being called Balthasar in real life. And I'm pretty sure with my life, I would have probably pulled it off. But you know, things happen, and I got there in the end, I guess. So I have put in a little bit of the effort, and I checked that Balthasar has actually been used in period in Germany. I think it actually doesn't have the H in it from the record that I saw, at least where I found it, but everyone spells it the more normal way now anyway, so it's probably not worth trying to fight for it every time. But yeah, so that's kind of where the persona came from, pieced together from a bunch of stuff in my life, and yeah, just generally preferring the more late period knights and castles and kings and queens and ridiculous outfit sort of period, which is just wonderful to me. I mean, I'm not sure if I'll ever get the resources together to make any of it, but you know, we can dream.
Yeah.
Never say never.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of dreams, I'm curious to know for each of you, is there any like position or role or thing in the SCA that you would like to achieve, like a goal? Would you like to become a peer or a king or queen or anything like that? We'll start with you, Balthasar.
I don't have goals so much in terms of positions. I mean, I guess knight would be quite cool if I could be good enough at the fighting eventually. But I think a lot more of my goals are sort of gear and experience based. So like I'd like to, well, the real dream is I would like to get like a full set of late period plate armor. Just even though it's not really useful for our combat system, just to have it and, you know, to wear it a few times around, they're just such awesome spectacles. Also horrendously expensive and a bunch of effort to put in whichever way you decide to go, of course, but Like that's my sort of dream goal if I could ever get that together.
Would you want to make it yourself or just acquire it?
I think that's another one of those like dream level things. Like I would love to be able to build it myself, right? But it's just there's so much skill and so much equipment and so many practice techniques that it's probably unrealistic to build it myself, but I would love to be as involved in the process as I can. So sure, you could sort of just go buy a set from various places, but that feels a little bit cheaper to me. Like if I could get it, I mean, if you end up with it, it's still very cool, obviously. But yeah, I would really prefer if I could get to blacksmith at least some parts of it and tailor it a bit. But as a dream goal anyway, so why not dream big?
Absolutely. I think it's quite good that things are so much more accessible now, that buying stuff from artisans or other merchants, there's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely fine, and it's a way to get the blingy stuff that you want, that you either don't have time to make or don't have the skills to make, or sometimes equipment its own is thousands of dollars just to be able to make something. So
yeah, there is so many people around as well across the SCA and different locations that have those skills to make them. And I know even locally here, there's probably 3 or 4 armourers that I can think straight off the top of my head that I can go to and go, hey, I would like to do this, let's go do it. And that's the same across every group. Yeah.
So Yrsa, do you have any big dreams?
Well, one.
Yes.
One is to be authorised and to fight before I become too crusty. And
You've got years and years.
Yeah, I've got, well, after the story you told me, yes, I've got years and years. So I'm going to do that. I really don't care if I will strive to be good, but it doesn't actually bother me that I will die in 5 seconds. It really doesn't.
You make a good looking corpse.
I make an excellent looking corpse. And I know, I know how to die spectacularly, as in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. I die fabulously. Another is I haven't got back to it because I've got other stuff to do, but during lockdown, Georgia did a thing where we had to try something we hadn't tried before in the SCA. And I went, I shall try illumination. Thinks I. Artist should be good at it. Thinks I. I was kind of shit.
Hold it up a little higher.
Up higher, up higher, up higher.
That's not shit.
Oh my gosh.
It was really not very good.
That's amazing.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And
Coming from somebody who does not have that artistic ability, that's phenomenal.
so, yeah, I was actually very, I went into it, I have to admit, oh, no, no sweat. Oh, my God. And they're quite large. I haven't even got down to doing the really tiny, but I am kind of obsessed with marginalia, like the weird little things that they drew in the border. Yeah. And even I wonder if they were, I'd love to know who drew them. You'll see this beautiful illumination. It's like gold and lovely, and it's the Virgin and Christ, and somebody's drawn a farting monk in the corner. And you want to go, you arsehole, who did that? 1,000 years ago, but you're a bit of a prick. But I want to be that guy.
Absolutely. I think you just need to take all your supplies and then sneak up on people who have done an amazing scroll and just I don't know, do one of those little rabbits.
Yeah. The battle rabbit. I'm obsessed with the battle rabbits. I've got folders and folders of them.
You need to make contact with Baroness Anne and see what you can do in the scrolls.
Absolutely. Very cool. So speaking of COVID and lockdown, how did you both keep engaged through that period? Because it must have been, you hadn't been playing very long and then suddenly, no activities. So what did you do to keep motivated or not motivated? Balthasar?
Yeah, for the most part, I kind of shriveled up into the fetal position and just stayed there for the whole lockdown. So it's a slight exaggeration, but kind of everything shut down. So the SCA wasn't a sort of outlier in that sense. I mean, I was Reeve at the time, so kind of once a month I would log on and say, yes, we received interest from the bank, and then love that, and that was the essence of the job. So I kept in touch a little bit that way. But we had around Modern Vale, for a while we set up some, they're actually on Discord, some little Discord group meetings just to sort of check in and say hi to everyone and that sort of stuff. But for the most part, most of my projects kind of sort of dropped onto the back burner. It kind of would have been great to have the sort of chainmail set up before lockdown, because it would have been awesome. I'd have like 3 sets done by now, but a bunch of the other projects kind of still need some sort of guidance and that sort of thing, or at least a vastly easier with some sort of guidance around. So yeah, a lot of them kind of just fell into the back burner, and I think we were relatively lucky being in Moreton Vale. As soon as things were capable of opening up, we sort of were. So unlike sort of Melbourne and places like that, which had had further lockdowns and things like that, we managed to get back into fighter training relatively quickly. So I went to a few of those, and we've managed to have a couple of meetings and things like that. And we were lucky enough to have the Not Quite Spring War event, where we still got something together, kind of because we'd already sort of booked the site. So we tried to make the most of it. So it wasn't a full spring war in the way that we would have preferred, but we still managed to get some vision out there, and I managed to attend that. And yeah, things like that have been really awesome. So we're actually kind of the least lockdown of most places, I think, which has been pretty awesome. But yeah, other than that, I mostly just put it on the back burner, and I came back to it when we opened up again.
Yrsa?
A little bit reverse of that. When lockdown happened, I had an exhibition in place that got closed, and all of my art outlets got closed. Everything just went and so I reverted to making stuff for SEA and watching a lot of Netflix. I had a cheap, really unattractive green cotton, full cotton blanket. I have to work in cotton, I'm allergic to wool. And I couldn't dye it because I couldn't get out to buy anything. So I just went, I'm just going to go with the colour. So I made a Kate Banner hood. I actually made several hoods because it was the blanket that kept on giving. And I spent a lot of time doing my bad embroidery on a large avocado green blanket for 3 months. It's not bad. It's not my colour. I'm kind of hoping that the next time at festival I will meet someone who really rocks green and go, here, thing.
We know someone.
Yours. Great. You're not a Viking, but whatever. Yeah, so that was fun. And trying to work out my heraldry, which I've got back to Reese on, because I want to back. I have a Viking image I want, so I'm back designing to get what I need to register so I can then have what I want. So I've spent a lot of time on that. And then also all the amazing things that people put up on Facebook and YouTube, and you know, so much activity by other people giving us stuff to do. Bless their cotton socks. Yeah, I owe them for that, like videos and courses, and I didn't do a lot of them, but they were there. It was great knowing they were there.
And the best thing is that they're not going away either. That all that content is there forever. So all the these interviews and a few of the other interview shows, but also all the classes and the universities. There's a great series that I keep up with about fighting that I love to watch. And
yeah, I watched a lot of those. I did actually. I have to say this. I did for the first 3 months do a lot of pill work, but then I started to realize that I turned into a bad extra in a Star Wars movie, and that I had to kind of just wait till I had someone who could go, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
Way too many flourishes, you know, like.
It's amazing. Definitely do that anyway. I love it.
One of the questions that we do like to ask of our participants is a story, one of your favorite stories that you've heard or you've seen or you've experienced in your time in the SCA. Do you have one?
It can be funny, it can be serious, it can be about somebody else.
They're always the best ones.
Not really. They're just little stories, you know. There's nothing big at the moment. You know, I think about when we went to Fields of Gold and I watched, you know, Hodder and Fisker, my son and my adopted son, set up the tent, and I'm sitting there on a beer keg, covered in a fur. And so it's like watching two puppies wrestle in a bag. It is. But, you know, I probably could have set that tent up in, 10 minutes. I'm an independent, useful woman. But I let my two teenage boys go for it. And an hour and a half later, the tent set up.
Well, they learned some very useful skills in that time.
Cute. They were just so cute.
Did the tent stay up?
Oh yes, it stayed up.
That's always the good thing.
Now, like, those tent pegs were in to stay. They bashed those suckers in. So it's little stories like that. I haven't got any like huge, massive, this is what we did sort of thing. And just, at Fields of Gold, helping Anthony with the equestrian event, and it was so windy. And so we spent most of our time just putting the balls that were meant to be heads back on pikes. So we were like, yes, we'll put this head back on the pike. Off we go. Oh, it's blown off. Sorry. And it was just that. It was little things that are just funny and you laugh.
Yeah. But and I find that they're actually the nice stories. They're the feel good ones that you do remember.
Yeah.
And it's,
how about you, Balthasar?
I was going to say it's part of those like that feeling of belonging and being part of it. It's just all those little pieces that like without them it'd be very kind of clinical in a way.
Yeah,
absolutely agree. I think I'm a little bit too new to the club to have any truly exceptional ones myself. I've heard my fair share of no shit there I was stories from various wars and battles that people have fought over the years. I don't know that I could do too many of them justice. I haven't heard them enough times yet. But yeah, I think I sort of have a classic one from the one spring war that I did get to attend. We were grouped up with some other people, and before the scenario engaged, there was a sort of a leader figure emerged and said, okay, well, this group's going to go off and flank around that way, and this group's going to go and flank around there, and we're going to sort of spearhead, but then pull back a little bit. And then the scenario gets called on, and immediately just, it is like complete madness immediately, no sense of the plan going anywhere. I guess I'll fight this guy then and hope that helps. Being essentially my first event and sort of barely authorized at the time, I don't think it really did help that I tried to fight anyone, but you know, I was there and it was a great time. So yeah, but apart from that, just a ton of those other, you know, little fun stories of just getting to hang out with people and doing this fun stuff and setting up the sort of thrones and things, and nothing super special there, but you know, it's just getting to see you know, everyone getting along and having a great time. So
actually, I have one that did make me laugh at Romany last year. 2 years. I'm going to say last year because I missed it. My son is less pretty now, but at 14, very pretty, and has very, very long hair. And he'd been chatting to a group of college lads, and they went, oh, do you mind if we take her to the bar? And I went, her is 14 and her is a boy. And they went, okay, so probably not.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. I
I
don't
but I'm going, oh, seriously, dudes. That's not going to happen next festival.
Well, our time is up, and thank you both so much for an amazing time. Amazing time, and for joining us tonight. It has been lovely to get to know you both that little bit better and to give such a different perspective to than we're used to.
Absolutely.
no, thank you for inviting us along. It was awesome.
If you have any questions about all the weird words we use, just ask.
Yeah.
Cool. So what do we have next week, B?
Next Saturday, we are actually interviewing Count Veneman, who was the Kingdom of the West, currently living in Atlantia, and he camps with Lockhart at Penzic and is known as Captain Lockhart. So you'll hear that story next week. And we're very lucky to be joined by Countess Lilia, who will be hosting the interview with Duchess Eva.
Wonderful. Well, that's very exciting. We look forward to tuning in and watching. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight, and thank you again, our guests, for giving some of your time and letting us get to know you, and we'll see everyone next week.
Thank you. Bye.